We welcome you back to the Thundercast. We have Rich Schelskey on from Parke Heritage High School. He is a basketball state champion, and he's also the athletic director. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Nick. I appreciate you having me on. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, no problem. All right, well, let's get right. Yeah, well, let's get right into it though. So, how hard is it being an athletic director? Going from an athletic director like to being a varsity head to being a head varsity coach.
Yeah, I mean, there's some challenges with it. Obviously every school's different. At our school, it's not probably the same as like you probably couldn't do that at a Fisher's or Carmel or Plainfield or whatever. We're a school of basically 330 kids and what's unique about our school is we're only a 9 through 12 building because when we consolidated as Rockville and Turkey Run, the high school stayed at Rockville and the middle school went to Turkey Run. So in my world, in our building, there's only 330 kids in our building and we're a 9 through 12 school. So yeah, we have most of the sports, but we don't have a pool. We don't play soccer. So, in the winter, so like specifically speaking about basketball, in the winter we have boys basketball, girls basketball, and wrestling, and that's it.
Hmm.
So it's not as hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not as hard as a lot of people would think just because of the way we're constructed. Now, most of the schools in our conference, it is a hard job because they're all 7 through 12 ADs. So it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But in our case, I have a really good job. I mean, I don't want any of our school board members or administration to hear that, but I have a really good job and I'm very pleased with where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah. So now the next question is, so as an athletic, okay, so I already got some insight from a coach, but from an athletic director standpoint, what goes into scheduling as an athletic director?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that goes into that. So like with our basketball, I'll answer this in a couple parts. So like in our basketball schedule, obviously I have control over that because I'm the basketball coach also. So, and we change our schedule a lot because of, right, wrong, indifferent, how good we've been. We need to play different teams every year because we need to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
So from a boys basketball scheduling standpoint, our schedule changes a lot. Now, from a standpoint of the other sports, like football's basically locked in. You play 9 football games. We have 2 non-conference games and 7 conference games. Those games are all locked in, and the only thing that will ever change with our football schedule would be the non-conference games. But we just this spring decided that our baseball and softball schedules have been all over the map, and we just decided like literally 3 weeks ago that we were going to make like some congruent changes with baseball and softball. Baseball softball going forward for us is always going to be played on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So when you get into that kind of stuff, yeah, there's something,
Mm-hmm.
there's some work to be done there because, our schedule, we literally have play like before going forward to next year, we literally play almost every weekend as a conference doubleheader. Now we're not going to have any of that because we're going to play Tuesdays and Thursdays now. So there's a lot of work to be done with that. But at the end of the day, it's going to work out good. And I
Mhm.
mean, scheduling's a lot easier to me nowadays. Maybe 10 years ago it wasn't as easy, but now, it's so much more internet based and everything that, as long as you get two schools to agree, then scheduling can be pretty easy. So, it's not
Mhm.
terrible. It's not a terrible thing.
Yeah. 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 So, okay. So, what went into scheduling Zionsville and Fishers and Ben Davis like this year for basketball?
Yeah. Well, obviously we felt like we had a team that was good enough to win a 2A state championship, which at the end of the day we did. And so in our world, again, we're over here in West Central Indiana. There's a lot of small schools around here. Um, you know, for us to be as tested as we can be, we have to play like a lot better teams than quote on paper what we are. And as luck would have it, like the Fishers deal, we actually had been trying to schedule each other for a couple years and we hadn't been able to get it done and we finally got it done this year. Zionsville, there was a relationship there which JR is now leaving, obviously, and Coach Weaver, your guy, he's going to take over at Zionsville, but we're going to continue to play them, which I think is great. But there was a relationship there with Zionsville, so that was an easy one. And then the Ben Davis one just kind of came by happenstance. We were That was a makeup game. We were supposed to play in the Forum Tip Off Classic in December. It got snowed out, and so we had to find a game. And
Hmm.
I out and said we needed a game. We were going to play at Huntington because my son Trey is, and they were the first ones to get back to me to say they wanted to play. And again, for us with the team we had, it didn't matter. Like we want to win all those games,
Hmm.
100%. We want to win those, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we get tested and that was a perfect game for us. So it just that happened at that happened out of just chance, and it was great and good game for us, good game for them. I think. I mean, I think we played them pretty good, and so it worked out good, and that's just how it went.
Yeah. So now, so now that's enough of the athletic director stuff. So as an so okay, so now as a head coach, what way? So what things did okay? What things did you guys do differently like after playing Fishers?
Uh, Honestly, not a lot. I mean, when you play a team like that, and I honestly think like they didn't win. They didn't. And so obviously they're not the 4A state champs, but I do believe they were the best team in the state of Indiana. I really do. They were just ultra talented, ultra athletic, ultra physical. So when we played them and we actually, we competed in that game for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were able to do that, we went in the locker room after the game and, it wasn't the end of the world. We were disappointed we lost and all that, but we told ourselves like, hey, look, if we can do some things against them, then we can do those against anybody in the state. And that again, that's why we schedule some of those games. Our guys, being over here against the state of Illinois and way over in the western central part of the state, our guys, unless we force them to see some of that stuff, they're never going to see that because it's just where we are. And so, we were fortunate enough and kudos to Coach Weiniger for playing us and
Mm-hmm.
coach. Coach Wayer now. They're going to play us again next year. So that is a great opportunity for us, win or lose. It's just a great opportunity for our guys, and it's a great opportunity for us to, like see some things that we are not going to see at our level in the tournament. And I
Hmm.
honestly, I thought it made us better 100%.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, so I was very interested in that game because I know how good Park Heritage was at like this past season. So I just watched that, but I saw a lot of improvements from you guys. Like after that game, I'm like, yeah. So playing Fishers and losing to them actually made them a lot better, which uh,
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
yeah, which I honestly can see why you guys won 2A. Now
Well, I mean,
that yeah.
yeah, I mean, and this is not a slide on any of the other teams in 2A, but we really felt like going into the tournament, anybody that looked at our schedule, like we lost 4 games this year. We lost to Fishers, we lost to Terre Haute North, which we actually beat once, and they,
Hmm.
Fishers, you know, unfortunately, got beat in the tournament by Carmel. We lose to Terre Haute North in the Classic in overtime, which we had already beaten them once. They go to the semi-state in 4A. We lose to a great Zionsville team. We lose to a great Ben Davis team. Like, we didn't have a bad loss. And, most teams at our level don't play those types of teams. They may play one. We played multiple. And honestly, we were competitive in all those games. So, that we felt really good about our schedule and where it put us going into the tournament.
Hmm.
And, obviously from there it just becomes we got to go play and and do what we can do. And but our schedule 1,000% prepared us for anything we were going to see in the 2A tournament.
Oh yeah, definitely. So what? So walk me through how you guys. So walk me through like the state championship morning prep, and then how you guys went from that like went to Gamebridge, uh, like warmed up and stuff, and how you guys got the team ready, because I also saw too that because I also saw that you guys also got the chance to practice at playing field.
Well, that actually was in the semi-state.
Oh
So
yeah, that's right.
so in the semi-state, we we were fortunate enough to draw the early game. And I mean, and that's the one thing, like everybody loves to win, but winning actually is kind of expensive. Like, you got to go stay all night, you got to buy a bunch of hotel rooms, so one thing we've done, or one thing we've learned in the tournament is, when you get to that semi-state level, which fortunately for us, we've been there like 4 years in a row, so we've kind of learned as we've gone. And, if you win that first game, regardless of it's the first game or the second game of the semi-state, you got to do something in between games. Well, fortunately for us, the last 2 years, actually the last 3 years, this actually started back 3 years ago when we played at Southport. Um, I have a really close relationship with with Plainfield's retiring AD Torrey Rodkey. He actually was at Western Boone when I was at Western Boone, so I got a hold of him and I was like, "Hey, man, we don't want to pay for hotel rooms. Was there any chance we could just hang out at your place in between games?" And he was like, "Absolutely." He was so awesome with that, and so we did that 3 years ago. Last year, we go to Washington. I'm I've got a good relationship with Josh Thompson, who was at Bar Eve. He's now at Lagodi. We were able to do the same thing last year at Bar Eve, And then, fast forward to this year, we play in the semi-state, we play the first game, need somewhere to go. I had talked to Tori early in the week. We had it mapped out. If we win, we're going to come to Plainfield High School. So our guys, it's normal hat for our guys, and it's way better than wasting $300 or $400 on hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So we hung out at Plainfield, and that was great. And they again, Tori was awesome, and Plainfield, the whole school, awesome in terms of inviting us in and allowing us to use their facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that was awesome for our guys. And then the state finals, we went up Friday afternoon. We practiced Friday afternoon, and then went out to eat, went to our hotel, and then Saturday morning we had our walkthrough at Brebeuf before we got on the bus to go to Gamebridge. So, again, like, as a coach, you try to
Mm-hmm.
stay in routine as much as possible. So, anytime we have a Saturday game, we usually walk through before the game. So, we weren't just going to get out of the hotel. And honestly, this was part of us learning from, we played in the state finals back in 2021, the year of COVID, and we had stayed all night the night before, and we
Mm-hmm.
literally just got on the bus and went to Gamebridge. And I didn't feel like we were ready to play,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, we got to change that. We got to do something different. So this year, I gotten a hold of, Coach Glunn at Brebeuf, which again had a relationship with, and again they were awesome and very welcoming of us coming in there, and so we left the hotel that morning. We went to Brebeuf. We walked through. Our guys showered and we got on the bus, went to Gamebridge, and we were ready to play. I really think that was a huge part of us being prepared to play in
Yeah.
that game.
Oh yeah. So, so, s- okay. So we are okay. So we are kind of running out of time, which is fine. But but here's but I have a funny story, and you will get a kick from this. I don't know if it was the cheerleaders or like our actual like or the actual team bus, but I was coming back from my CPR class like that Saturday, and then like we were on the like I was on the interstate back home, and I and we and there was a bus in front of us. I'm like, wait, what bus is that? Then I saw Parke Heritage 2A, so I'm like, oh hey, it is Parke Heritage. Hello, Parke Heritage. So I took a video of that, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever. So that yeah, but I
Yeah,
it,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, but it, yeah, but I didn't even realize. Yeah, but I didn't even know if it was the boys, like if it was the actual team, like or if it was the cheerleaders. But yeah, but okay. So before we leave, okay, before we get off, I always ask every coach and every player this question: what gyms are your favorite gyms, uh, excluding Gamebridge, that you've coached at?
Well, I would have to say first and foremost that I'm a big homer on this one, but our home gym is unique like no other. You know, we're a consolidation of Rockville and Turkey Run, and it's the gym that Rockville used to play in. Technically, it's always been called the Rockadome. People try to call it the Wolf Den now. Um, you know, it's and don't get me wrong, it's got a lot of faults. Like it is a great game or a great gym to play a game in. It's a terrible gym to practice in, but it definitely has to be up there. I think Washington is great. I think the Hatchet House is
Hmm.
awesome. I think Southport is awesome. But there are so many gyms in the state of Indiana. That's the beauty of being in the state of Indiana. There are so many great gyms that I mean, like when we played at Fisher's this year, it was 2 days before Christmas or 3 days. Not that that gym is like unique in any way, but there were a bunch of people there to watch that game, which was really cool, and it made it a really cool environment. So, I mean, there's a lot of great gyms in the state of Indiana. But of course, like I said, I'm a homer, and
Yeah,
I gotta believe that our gym, in terms of like atmosphere and crowd and everything else, it's about as good as it gets.
yeah, yeah. So before we do get off here too, so I don't know if you remember me from like from the sideline, like from the Gobbler games, like a couple years ago, like the senior year. I, I, yeah, that was my senior year when we guys played. I mean, when Plainfield played y'all. But yeah, but in my opinion, like my favorite gyms have to be. Well, yeah, yeah. So my favorite gyms I've managed in Mooresville for one, because that's one of the, uh, because it has the, because it's a small school, but it has a big school feel, and then of course
Yeah.
Cogmo, and then of course Cogmo, Southport, uh, all the Hendricks County schools except Tri West and Danville. I do not like those gyms but I mean they're just tiny. But I just like it. But I like the other Hendricks County schools, and then uh, Southport definitely, definitely Southport. But yeah, well, that will do it for today's Thundercast. Thank you so much for joining, and sorry this was a day late, but yeah, thank you for joining, and you have a great rest of your day, and hope you guys get prepared for next season.
Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yep, yep, no problem.